controversial, so do bear with me. Is there actually an importance to creationism? I've been puzzling over this for a long time now, and have come to a startling conclusion. Creationism, which is scientifically false and factually inaccurate, is a model of the cause of life and the creation of the universe. It actually does have an importance. It is one of a set of ideas that are actually important. As a person goes through the process of becoming religious, they seek God, an experience of a presence of divine being or some form of sense of connectedness with what appears to be a divine force. It can only be considered to be a revolution of consciousness, a change in the brainwave activity that brings about some kind of nirvana, a state of spiritual euphoria or joy. This state of mind seems to be important to humanity, not because humans seek pleasure, and spiritual altered states of consciousness are probably the most pleasurable on the face of the planet, but it gives more of an ability to cope with the stresses of life and brings about compassion for humanity and a desire to care more for what one does, morally speaking, when engaging with humanity. Religion itself is highly dominated with pseudoscience, to be sure, but that can only be considered to be pseudoscience if one thinks for a moment that these ideas are in fact representations of facts of the universe. They are not. They are something called a mystical interpretation, a form of fiction that assists in generating over a substantial period of time the spiritual God consciousness that has been sought by the seeker. Heliocentrism, whereby the sun is portrayed as a centre not of the solar system but of the universe, is similar, and so too are the ideas of the earth being central to the universe and indeed the earth being flat. We know that the earth is not flat, nor is it the centre of the universe, and neither is the sun. But the belief, when seen mystically, can be a stepping stone towards building up a spiritual cosmology in the mind of the believer that has the capacity to bring them bit by bit closer to this God consciousness state of mind. This is where things get a bit difficult for the believer and for the skeptic to swallow. The literalist Bible believer may find it hard to accept that his faith has been constructed to give the believer God consciousness rather than the Bible being a record of historical fact. The skeptic will find it hard to believe that believing in any way whatsoever in either a higher power or the importance of a journey towards God consciousness or any mystical ideas are any good to the individual or the rest of society. But the literalist believer hasn't thought that the journey to God consciousness could actually be more important than believing in the literal interpretation of the Bible, and the skeptic has not realized that there is an importance to the results of the journey being towards God consciousness. When I look at my own journey into spirituality, which is a variety of deism, which is transcendental deism, in which the search for spiritual experience is the goal without needing to adopt any literalist dogma, I see many moments when in my meditations and deliberately induced spiritual experiences a development of a more empathic form of altruism than I have experienced before, a desire to become more ethical in my work, and a sense that what I say and do has an effect upon society, all as a result of reaching a state of mind whereby, for fleeting moments, God appears to exist, and I sense a presence. In order to achieve this, I have used mind-blowing religious concepts and ideas as objects of meditation, using titles for this thing that might not exist, called God, such as Creator of the Universe, and immersing myself in the depth and power of what a term like that could mean if God did exist. After a long enough time of practicing many different types of exercises like this, I started to sense a presence, to feel things that some people would call the Holy Spirit, to see halos or auras, and have many experiences that people would call or consider to be psychic. However, that was just the tip of the iceberg. Many more experiences came my way, mind-blowing experiences which showed me that maybe consciousness is everywhere, and we are somehow a part of a massive sea of energy, and each one of us has some kind of moral responsibility over our lives and thoughts. It was absolutely amazing. No, there is no factual signature of God's fingerprints in the universe, but the mythology, the mind-blowing concepts of faith that have a connection to the vastness of the universe, were part and parcel of the development of the God consciousness state of mind that I felt. The fact of the matter is that mystical ideas, the apparently fictitious ideas of religion contemplated in mind-blowing meditation and ritual that allowed me to have these experiences and to have a revolution of mind and spirit. Creationism and many other mystical ideas that can be used for the same thing is in fact important. There are many cults out there that sell creationism as if it's a scientific fact, and there's even more of a move to have creationism taught in some schools in certain parts of the world as a scientific theory, something which, to be honest, grates against me terribly. But when creationism, or any other theological cosmological hypothesis, taken from any major or minor world religion, is taken mystically and symbolically, not scientifically, it can be a substantial stage towards the creation of the God consciousness that I have experienced, so long as creationism moves towards a mystical school of thought and not a scientific one. I have no problem with it. Mystical creationism, performed in prayer and meditation and celebrated in churches and temples for the purposes of bringing about this God consciousness state of mind, would not be a threat to education, science, or politics at all. On top of that, as it creates this peculiar nirvana state of being, it would also have many social benefits, such as an increase in the awareness of natural morality that appears to be written into us automatically, as well as a level of compassion and social responsibility that is analogous to the change in mentality that the Buddhists go through when they perform compassion meditation for many years. Scientifically speaking, yes, Darwin is absolutely correct about the evolution of mankind, but the new atheist movement is completely incorrect when they say that there should be less religion in the world.